There we go. Now we're recording.
Technology for the win.
I know,
Just
especially
connect.
in this day and age right now.
Mhm.
Hmm.
We need it. We need it more than ever. Now, all of the negative things I've said about technology in the past, technology is like, how do you like me now?
She showed you, eh?
You know, I get it. I surrender.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, no, I don't want to do technology. Well, now we have no choice
Yep.
because from what I hear, it's actually been getting worse. At least here in Georgetown, we live in
Yeah.
a small town. It's a very small town, but we already have. Yesterday was 7 cases.
Yeah, it's growing exponentially, so that's gonna double, and then, like,
Yeah.
you know,
And because my husband goes out to work, he's like, I'm gonna have to self-isolate from all of you
oh,
so that way I don't bring anything in here. And when he said that, that honestly, that hurt my heart
yeah.
because I'm like, here I am thinking there's gonna be a nice time, we're gonna spend together as a family, yeah. And he doesn't even get the time off,
Mhm. So
right?
what would he do? Like, go to a hotel?
No, he might have to sleep in the guest room, right? We have an extra room. So he might have to sleep there. At least we got a new mattress for the bed.
Yeah, it's so interesting hearing like how all the different families are navigating. Like for some, both parents can work from home, and like engage with their kids. And like I know for my niece, it's probably a magical time having both of her parents home, and everyone's like working from their lake house. And for others whose parents are going to work, like, yeah, that's a big responsibility being the one going out into the world.
Yeah, yeah. And he can't even really, he works with cars, right? So he's a car doctor.
Yeah.
And before they get inside the car, they do their best to clean it because if there's something in there, it doesn't want to pick it up, right?
Mhm.
So he can't really wear one of those face covering masks because
Yeah,
he can't see what he's doing.
right.
And it's tough and it's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's gonna pass,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We all just do what we can in the meantime.
Hmm. Exactly. I mean, everything happens for a reason. We're slowly figuring out what that reason is or reasons are.
Mhm.
And a lot of things are coming to surface,
Yeah.
right? We're being forced to face certain things, and the government all of a sudden has things available for everyone. And it's like, well, you've had this the whole entire time. Why have you been sitting on it greedily?
Hmm.
Tahiti? No, dog is trying to get on the table.
I think that's the thing. Like, we're learning a lot about our government right now. Learning a lot. And
My hound. Bahiti, come here.
she is hound.
Yeah. Well, she's a hunting dog, right? And I love when I come home, or anybody comes home. I actually did record a little bit of video. What she does is she'll take my shoe or whoever came home, she'll find their shoe and she'll kind of like run around and growl through the shoe like,
Oh.
and it's so cute and so loving, right? The first time I heard her do it, she was a little puppy. I think she was like maybe 9 weeks old. And I was like, what is that noise? It's so weird. I've never heard it before. Now that I remembered it, I'm gonna cut the little piece out of the video and share it in the story so people can hear what it sounds like. Hmm. I made a mess with mine today on the stove.
It happens, as we were talking about yesterday.
Well, not as bad as yours. It's just,
We've all made a cookie mess at some point.
yeah,
Yeah.
this one just burnt on the stove a little bit, so I don't have very much sense of smell right now, but I can smell the burning.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's a little bit hot, but good.
right. Well, I am going to start by inviting the cacao spirit into my body to partner with me and partner with us as we create this content in this session today.
Yeah.
And for my intention, I just want to have fun. Like
Just
that
want
is,
to have fun?
yep, that is my intention. Like this is exactly what I want to be doing. And I'm so grateful to have this time and space to be collaborating with you. I feel like our past selves always knew this would happen, and having like keeping us on track and keeping us in such close contact with each other for some reason. And I think that reason's forever unfolding. So yeah, so my intention is to have fun doing what we do best.
That's right. My thoughts, technology brought us together. Even though I was resisting technology, you were resisting technology, it brought us together in the first place, and it's bringing us even further.
Yeah.
To bring all of us together because I said this actually in one of my live videos, in one of the very first live videos that I did, that this will be the future.
Mm-hmm.
People will not be going into work. People will be, it's really weird hearing myself say that now in this time right now. And I
Yeah.
predicted this
Yeah.
years ago. Maybe I should find that video. But that people are not going to be going into work, that we're going to be all working from home, or most of us will be working from home because there's not going to be any need for us out there. And my intention is also to have fun and to allow my heart to speak, as my brain is still not fully here.
A little foggy.
Yeah.
How are
So
you feeling otherwise?
a little bit worse today than yesterday.
Oh.
And the biggest reason why I think it is because yesterday I had session after session after session
Yeah.
all day, and then the webinar and a lot of learning, and then I had my success coach session,
Oh.
which was I thought, you know what, I'm gonna take advantage and just work on the stuff that I know is gonna be extremely beneficial, and
Yeah.
that's what we did. So we basically we were talking about technology, right? Talking about technology and my gremlin showing up every time I go near it. And I thought it was some limiting beliefs and all the other stuff and interpretation and stuff like that, but it all came down to the gremlin and the messages the gremlin was holding for me and how we worked through it. I was bawling my eyes out. Good thing it was not a video. But I'm sitting here as um, he's reiterating everything that I have said or my responses to his questions. I'm sitting there listening to it and thinking like, how in the hell is my gremlin still here? Because I know all of these things. I know I'm a freaking magical unicorn. I know all of us are magical unicorns, and yet the gremlin trumps it all.
Yeah.
And it makes us feel so tiny. Hence,
Yeah.
my gremlin tiny or so
Yeah.
small. So, yeah.
I mean, that's an important thing that actually, I don't know, maybe this turns into a conversation about the gremlin, but it's an important thing to keep in mind that the gremlin never really goes away because it is so deeply tied to our egos, and it is energy. So that energy is always there. It's always a part of us. And energy can either be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed, which is why the gremlin. Oh, have you done? Well, I don't know if we did the gremlin coaching the gremlin exercise together.
We might have done a little bit. I know we're gonna be doing that in mod 3.
Okay.
Because right now, what we're doing in mod 2, we were doing basically creating the image of the gremlin and getting the message of the gremlin.
Okay, yeah. That, I guess that makes sense because you didn't get this book yet, right? The like big one.
No.
It's like yeah, Coach Manual Part 3.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that one yet.
Yeah, there's a coaching the gremlin exercise in there, and I just love it and think it's so important because it just really drills it home that it's just energy and it's always going to be there.
I think that's exactly what the Fire Trucks. Now I forgot his name again. Craig. His name is Craig.
Yeah. Wait, is he like Craig Schneiderman? Is that? Yeah, he's the student center guy too.
Oh, nice. He was the one that I was gonna say did me yesterday, but basically did me in yesterday with my waterworks and everything. And I felt like it's interesting how he did it, how he worked through it, like the questions, and I could see which tools he was bringing in, what he was using. And I'm like, oh my God, this is magical.
Yeah.
This is magical. I can't wait to start practicing this stuff on people because I want to make people cry.
Yeah.
But it's a good cry because
so cathartic.
Yeah, and he also, because I did tell him that my brain is not really here, so you're gonna hear everything through the heart. Yeah. There's no filter. So he's like, yes, good, right? So I was basically crying because I was full of happiness and joy that I put all of these things that I am together and took away all the things that I'm not, right? And then you walk away with a beautiful message in the end, right? And that's the beauty of this type of work that we're doing. So I do want to make people cry. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful cry, whereas you feel it in the heart, and that stuff stays.
Yeah.
The gremlin will always be there. I 100% agree with you, but it will become smaller.
Yeah, and it's just we become more efficient at dealing with it, and like I've gotten to the point now where I'm kind of playful with my gremlin because like I'll hear it when it comes up and I'll be like, oh yeah, like, you know, and just like talk to it, like especially because I named it to reference hip hop, so I think I take on a different like gangster approach with it, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here, like what do you know? We discussed this. I think the instant like it's like turning the key on the gremlin, like the thought that comes up is, yo, we talked about this, and the gremlin's like, right, I forgot, I'm sorry. And so I just like love that kind of work because like what you said earlier too, that you thought maybe it was a limiting belief or an interpretation, and it all comes down to the gremlin. I think like deep down it really all comes down to the gremlin. Like even like limiting beliefs, like, well, why do we have them? Because we feel like we're not good enough, or like we're like wrong about something, like we're not sure ourselves. So I think that like gremlin work is just the most effective in clearing blocks. And I just love what you said about like how you clear everything and then what you have left is you essentially.
Yeah.
And like that just sounded like as you're talking, I was just like, it's self-love. Like she's talking about self-love. This is so beautiful.
Yeah. And that's what it is, right? And it came down to like of course I take notes, you know me. I even wrote down like the notes that I could while I was listening, is that my authentic self speaks from the heart, right? And I'm more than capable of doing anything and everything I want. I am unlimited. And the word capable, to me, it's the opposite of I can't,
Yeah.
right? Because that's one of the things, one of the messages that I hear all the time. I can't, I can't, I can't. And I mean, that's a very um, debilitating,
Yeah.
if that's the right word, message.
Yep.
That's when I hear that, I can't, I really like, I sit there and I can't.
Yep.
I can't. Why bother?
Exactly. Which is level one.
Yeah,
Why bother?
yeah.
That's exactly it. And like so many of us have that I can't, like that's a subconscious story we tell ourselves all day long, every day.
Hmm.
Not aware of it. And that's why I love the questions, like IPEC style questions, like, well, how true is that really? Like that's one of my favorite questions. How true
Yeah.
is that really? Because then you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
because
Yeah.
they call you on your hurry on your BS. It's like, I
Yeah.
call bullshit. How true is
Yeah.
that really? And I have not gotten a response. It's very true from anyone, because then they're like, well, no, it's not really true. And then the story goes on of why it's not true,
Yeah.
right? And that's the story that they can now take away for themselves
Exactly.
and walk with.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Like that's what I love about coaching, at least the way we're trained. We're not telling them what's true or what's not true. We're just challenging them to
Yeah,
ask themselves. So, and once you do that process, once you go through it, you go through it, like you can carry it with you and go through it again. Like that line of questioning. Like I remember when I did one-on-one coaching with my first IPEC coach, her cadence of questions, such as like, well, how true is that really? Or, well, why would that happen again? Or what's the worst thing that could happen? Or what's the best thing that could, like all of her like cadence of questioning was just like, I'd hit a block, hear her voice in my head, and then the block would clear. And it's just so much, it's so much more empowering than working with someone who's telling you what to do along the way, because then you constantly need that person.
yeah,
With a coach, coaches empower us to have those tools.
yeah. And that's one thing I will definitely agree that I've noticed a difference with different coaching practices, right? Because being a coach, you do not need any kind of certification. You don't need anything,
I know.
right? And I mean, that alone in a way is a bit scary to me,
Yeah.
because I personally would not want to hire a coach that doesn't have life experience. Is great, but that's more like a mentor. So
Right.
I don't
Exactly.
want to hire a mentor. I want to hire a coach. And a
Mhm.
coach, to my understanding, needs to go through some kind of education to know what a coach is supposed to do, right? Learning the tools, the skills, practicing them, right?
Mhm.
And we get to practice on peers. And practicing them on peers, practicing them on professionals that have been
Mhm.
doing this for years, and that alone is very uncomfortable.
Yep.
I mean, the confidence that alone builds.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I told you my first fishbowl experience in Mod 2,
Thank you, ma'am.
where I didn't know what was gonna happen, because all you told me was it's gonna be a life-changing weekend. I'm like, yes, life-changing weekend. I am down. I didn't know it was gonna be that life-changing.
Yeah.
We're sitting in this fishbowl, and all I'm doing is anticipating this gremlin project, right? Because I'm thinking that's it. That's gonna be the life-changing stuff. But the fishbowl itself is like, there was how many of us in the group? I think there was 7 of us. So 2 professional teachers there, listening and observing, taking notes. Um, that's the most uncomfortable part, because they know their stuff in and out. They know what they're listening to. They're observing you. And I don't like to be um, watched and observed like that. So
I know.
So, and I was going last. Okay. Now they didn't even teach us the closing, how to close the session.
Mm.
So there was one client, and we all bring our real life issues in there.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's gonna
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Right. So one volunteer, she really quickly, like, yeah, me, I'm gonna do it. So, and then we're like one by one. There's one client, four coaches. Each one has 7 minutes. And of course, I'm the last one. They already came to a solution, resolution, everything, and I'm just like, okay, so what do we do now? I was still coming up with questions and with things, but I was doing it through a massive. Is that my computer?
I think so.
Yeah, my Contagion came on Netflix. This virus. Oh my God. Talk about synchronicities.
Get the fuck out of here. Like, you need to watch this right now.
I know, right? It's gonna tell you stories, Yana. But anyways, where was I? Oh, my panic attack. So I was doing this whole coming up with questions and listening to responses through a panic attack. Like, my panic attack was where I was like stiff in my chest and my arms.
Yeah.
Heart, I could feel my heart beating. I was getting so hot. My face was probably like this shade of red. And I somehow still managed to get through it. And in the end, nobody even knew that I was doing it through a panic attack. Everyone thought I was doing an awesome job. I'm like, what do you mean? Couldn't you tell I was doing it through a panic attack? They're like, you were? I'm like, yeah. So none of them could tell. And I'm like, you know what? That right there is proof. It's proof to me that so many of us are walking around putting up this front
Yeah.
and looking like a cool cucumber on the outside, but on the inside there is a horrible war going on, where everything, every cell in your body, in my body, was at war with itself.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for me to even, like, I was even trying to keep my face. I couldn't even like smile properly. And you know me, I smile all the time, I laugh all the time, and I felt like I was like this.
Yeah. That's ego death. Like, if you can get through that, you can get through anything. Like, you can kill
That's the point.
Kill your ego over and over and over.
I felt like that was the weekend. I felt like that weekend was killing my ego.
Mm.
And then after that weekend, I rode that wave for an entire week. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I can do this. I can do this. I can do that. And I was doing things, and I was doing and doing and doing. And then the following week, it kind of slowed down a little bit. And now I had to take a break because I'm not feeling so great.
Yeah, that's important too. But yeah, I mean, that's like going through that resistance is such an amazing experience, because it feels like the panic attack is because the ego actually thinks it's dying. Like, it's actually,
yes, I felt the ego.
Yeah, it feels like you're dying, and then you live through it, and then it's one of the most valuable experiences, because then in the future, anytime you feel fear, you can remember, like, well, when's the last time I felt this way? Oh yeah, when I was like facilitating during a panic attack, and then work through it. Like, you just give a warrior hoka hey and put on your helmet and move forward into battle.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing if you're gonna make it out alive, but hey, we didn't come to make it out alive.
I knew I was gonna make it out alive, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it out alive in one piece or two pieces. And I felt like I made it out in two pieces, where it was me and that ego, right? So we kind of separated a little bit, and honestly, it was life-changing because ever since that weekend, my ego has not been that strong.
Mm.
I've been able to work through stuff and move
Oh,
through stuff.
so cool.
How was your experience that in mod 2 with the whole weekend? If you
I like they all kind of blend together now. I'm trying to like remember. Did Matu, we got the stone, right?
yeah,
Like, okay. I remember having similar experiences like that, and like I just remember being like so much in my own head that I was having trouble paying attention to what everyone else was saying, because I was like so focused on what I was gonna say, and then when it came time for like me to talk, none of the things I was already planning were even relevant anymore. And so it was like an experience of having to just lead from the heart and intuition, and like really be like, I think Mod 2 taught me how to just let go of expectation and anticipation, just be in the moment, like be in the present moment, and trust that I have everything within to express and facilitate as each moment arises.
you know what? I would agree. I think that was actually one of the biggest points of letting go of control. What
Yeah.
I'm explaining, because wanting to have the control for each session, for example, right? With me, I'm the type of person that I want to help people and I want to help them like right now.
Yeah.
Right now, in one session, we were going to fix all of your problems, right? But on the realistic level, that's not realistic,
Hmm.
right? Even just talking about the gremlin, that work, that could be lifelong work,
Right. Right.
right? In the beginning, it's great. It's honestly, it's the best thing I did was hire a coach.
Mm.
That's right. The best thing I did was hire a coach, because that coach, was you, had changed my life. That's right. Had changed my life, and honestly, I would have paid more. I would have paid
Mm.
more, and that's where coming to be my own coach is like, well, how much would I charge? And I know the value of it.
Yeah.
But when someone is starting off, especially someone that might not be aware of what coach
Hmm.
going to be able to do for them, and perhaps they might not even take the time to kind of learn and understand the power of coaching.
Yeah.
But once they do, most importantly, once they get a taste of it themselves, that's when that whole Gretel message of they fight or limiting belief, whatever comes up for them when it comes to the cost of it, is just gonna completely disappear,
Hmm.
right?
That's also, you also brought up such an important point. Like, I've spoken with people before who want to be coaches, and were asking me about becoming a coach, but then told me that they didn't have enough money or couldn't afford my services. And I thought, that's fine for where they are at this point in their lives, but at the same time, I was thinking about when it comes, should they choose that path to become a coach, when it comes time for charging for their services, if they haven't gone through their own process of hiring a coach, they're going to struggle to understand that they are valuable and that this work is valuable.
Yeah,
Is like, that is like one key component of becoming a coach, is like you got to actually go through that process of paying your own coach, so that when it comes time for you to charge, you know that people want to pay you for this medicine.
yeah,
This
and
is potent.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, that was my way of thinking at that time too,
Yeah.
right? Because I took one coaching program and I was like, well, that's not enough. That does not give me enough tools. Like, I don't feel like I'm ready to be a coach.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, what's the best way to find out if this is actually even what I want to do, to go and have a taste?
Yeah.
right? To have a taste, to get your coach, go through coaching, heal yourself, work on yourself, get experience it firsthand. It's like practice what you preach, right? If you don't practice what you preach, then you can't preach it. Then you're just a preacher.
Right.
Right? And even preachers still practice what they preach.
I mean, so many don't too. Like, there's like one lyric that I love in a Soja song. He's like, Bob Marley lives instead of the preacher. And like through the song, like how he's talking about preachers, like he's like referencing how they just like talk at people instead of empowering people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing. We're empowering people. And I can relate so much to what you were saying before about how you want to like get all the healing done, get all the tools in like one session. And that's why I was so glad you chose Law of Being, because when I looked through the Law of Being for the first time and like listened to the CDs for the first time, I was like, this is like everything that I learned in 5 years worth of coaching in 16 weeks. And I was like before I started facilitating Law of Being, I was doing one-on-one coaching, and it felt like it was taking too long. I wanted to be like, just learn these, like learn the learn the Gales, learn the 7 levels, like learn it all now. So then like I was like like that, like the cure for that impatience for me was facilitating Law of Being. So I was so stoked that's what you chose, because I knew that would be the program for you and that you would just devour it, because like you were already on this path, and it like it's just like neatly presents all the tools. And I was just so like, and that's what it's all about. Like it's like these specific tools, like 7 levels of energy with 4 inner blocks. And that's pretty, like once you get those down, you're good. Like you can really navigate any situation, any obstacle, checking in, be like, what's really going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then choose, like come from a conscious, like it's really all about conscious choice. And then everything else changes after that, like the stories we tell ourselves, the language we use, like we start paying really close attention to our inner stories, like our inner critics, and how we express with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
yeah.
definitely agree. And I like the word you use, choose,
Yeah.
because from my experience, that is exactly what the Law of Being offers to people. Because so many of us live at level 1 or level 2, right? Level 1 is when you're just poor me, right? And that was me. Even though I was working on myself, I still was um, self-pitying in a way, and giving like and myself as a victim, as everything is kind of like happening to me, even though I knew it was happening for me. It was kind of very like confusing in my head, right? And then realizing that there's a lot more choices out there,
Yeah.
which I was aware of when I was younger, but over certain years of my life, it felt like those choices have completely been taken away from me, right? Going from one place, one workplace to another workplace, and all these people in my life creating all those gremlin messages in me, right? Um, and what started happening is I would feel kind of like it's almost like out of body experience when the gremlin shows up, because it feels foreign. It doesn't feel like me. It feels icky.
Yeah.
Love being gave me an understanding of all these different levels and a choice. Okay, well, this is where you are. That's great. There's nothing wrong with this level. Nothing wrong with being at level 1, because there are benefits to being at level 1. You're there for a reason.
Exactly.
But if you choose to go to level 2 and get a little bit angry and fight, then it's your choice. If you choose to go to level 5 and see what you're going through as this opportunity, and then to level 6, what can I do with this opportunity? Then it's like, it's all conscious choices. Then it's like, oh, snaps, I didn't know that.
Right.
right? It's a awakening. It added to my awakening journey that much more,
Yeah.
right? And it opens up all these doors and windows in this big house. And I allow more things in, right? And I get to choose of what I want to focus on or what I want to see in this situation, in the
Right.
situation of this coronavirus. And we all have a choice to look at it at the bad, negative, scary side of it and focus on that, and we will become part of that, or shift a little bit or shift a lot and just focus on all the good that we're getting out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's a lot of good.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that, because I see the world through a lens of unbridled optimism. And I always have, like, from the time I was a kid, like, always have
Yeah.
put on the mask of someone who was worried or fearful, because it made other people more comfortable. Like, for me to walk around and be like, oh, everything always works out, like, everything's gonna be fine, it always works out. I learned at a young age that that lens is not shared by many people, and it upsets people when I don't want to share in their woes or their fears. And it actually came up yesterday because I was having a conversation with someone, and I was like, well, Mother Earth, taking a breath, like, we're giving her a break. And I was just focusing on the big picture. And
Mhm.
I even explained my perception of the world. I was like, well, I think of it as a macro view. Like, I see humanity in much bigger terms, like 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, 5,000 years. So this moment in time, to me, like, I'm focusing on what's coming out of it, just as when we learned about the Black Plague in school, and I learned that it catalyzed the Renaissance, and I love art. So back then I was grateful for the Black Plague, and because obviously we weren't alive then, I had no emotional attachment to the families who suffered. And now, applying all that now, I still perceive the uh, the value that's going to come out of this. And when I was expressing that and talking about what I see, like, for humanity and Mother Earth as a result, the person I was talking with kind of implied that I'm emotionless, or that it's that there's a problem with my perception, as though I'm not feeling anything for families who are actually losing
They
loved ones.
clearly don't know you. You're full of emotions.
I know. That's all.
And that's why I love you for that.
I like all I do is feel, and that's why I got here, though. That's why I chose this path, because I did go through a time of feeling all the pain and suffering in the world, and it would cripple me. I would sit with it and feel helpless to make a difference, and that was overwhelming. And I realized that that doesn't serve humanity. So what gives me strength and courage and energy is the optimism and the joy. And and that gives me vibrancy and vitality. And I can offer so much more when those thoughts and feelings that I'm connecting with are the optimistic thoughts. So to have someone think, I mean, it showed more of her perception of the world, as though, like, so from her mindset, it sounds like she's thinking on a binary process of, you can't be optimistic and still have sympathy for people who are losing loved ones.
That's very limiting.
It is. And I try to explain, like, these are not mutually exclusive. Like,
Yeah.
I can have, like, of course I feel for people who are losing family members. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm an empath. All I do is feel,
Yeah. Feelings.
right?
All
So, like,
one.
I can feel that, and then ask myself, well, what do I want to do about it? and that's where the shift occurs. Like, is sitting in my room in the dark crying. I used to do, like, when I would think about kids in Flint, Michigan being poisoned by their water, or, you know, Standing Rock protesters being blasted with water cannons by the U.S. government. Like, that, those kinds of thoughts used to cripple me, until I realized there's a reason I'm feeling this so deeply, and that reason is so that I take action. And my form of taking action is my self-expression. My self-expression happens to be through the lens of unbridled optimism and joy. So that's what I do, and that's what I express, and that's what I send out, because that's the only thing that's been working.
Yeah, me too. And how are we looked at? We're looked at as crazy and unrealistic and weird. And what other names are we given? Witches.
Yeah.
Nothing
Or
like that either.
brain damage, as my former therapist said.
That's a compliment.
Out of touch with reality and brain damage.
Yeah, like that. And that's the other thing, that we are out of touch with reality. I don't know about them, but I think we are more in touch with reality and what reality is.
Right, because
Some people.
we see the holistic view, like the integral vision of all of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we see it all, and I'm not saying there's not a place for, you know, this person who I was having the conversation with yesterday. I try to explain, like, I'm not saying there's no place for your perspective. There's a place for everyone's perspective right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like, her perspective, maybe it motivates her to care for people in her local area, you know, wherever it serves her. So from our perspective, this second tier consciousness, where we've dissolved, we no longer are moving through a tunnel toward the light at the end of the tunnel. For us, there is no tunnel. We, you know, we see it all. So we see the value in all that happens, and that's second tier consciousness. And from second tier consciousness, there is no hierarchy, there is no better or worse than. So there's a place for every perception, and our responsibility as the leaders, like at the leading edge of consciousness, to maintain our perceptions. And if you think about it, we poke the holes through the matrix, we come out on the other side of the matrix, and we come back all saying the same thing. Like, there's a reason we all come back after this soul excavation, consciousness expansion into level 6, or seeing through our third eyes. There's a reason we all come back saying the same thing, and we all come back with this optimism and idealism in our hearts and belief in humanity. Mm-hmm. That we all seem to be sharing. Like, all these visionaries and creators, like, we're all coming back saying the same thing. So there must be something to that.
Yeah. And my question that's kind of running in my head is, what would happen if every single human being right now was in panic mode?
Exactly. Exactly. Like,
no, but really, what do you think would happen if every single human being right now was in panic mode?
What would happen? I think I like, all I'm seeing is everything on fire. All I'm seeing, like, the thought of it, I'm just seeing everything, like, because I've had dreams about that before. Like, I've had dreams where that was happening, like every single human being was in panic mode except for me, and I'd go around from person to person shaking them, being like, listen to the intuitives, and people would be like, get out of here. And but in all those dreams, everything was on fire, like just shit on fire everywhere, like stores, trees, everything on fire.
Kind of like a movie.
Exactly.
This actually, to me, it feels like a movie right now. It doesn't feel 100% real. even though I know it is 100% real.
I mean, it's as real as it can be in a quantum universe.
Yeah.
It's still a simulation, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's all, but it's a collective hallucination. We're all seeing it. So it is, and we'll get through it.
Yeah. Oh, we will get through it, right? One day at a time.
And we always like I just keep coming back to Mother Earth, and I'm like, she's like, I think from having worked with cacao and plant medicine for so long, I just have this pathway to Mother Earth's galactic intelligence. And she loves us unconditionally. And she's also, I don't want to say like, I don't want to apply an emotion to it, but like she needed this. She needed this break. And it's helping her to partner with the humans who are the Earth Guardians. Like she knows who the Earth Guardians are, and she's trusting us. She's trusting us to use this time to pause and learn how to regenerate mind, body, spirit, and regenerate the Earth's soil.
Mhm.
So when I come back to that, I just keep thinking like, oh, we're gonna be fine. Like Mother Earth really needed this because we were not hearing her. Like we were not listening. We were not listening when water protectors were being met with military force. We didn't listen then. We didn't listen when the Amazon rainforest was on fire. We didn't listen when Australia was on fire.
Mhm.
We haven't listened to the volcanoes. We haven't listened to tsunamis or weird hurricanes in on the East Coast at random during random seasons. We didn't listen when it snowed here in October and knocked down all these trees. And now I feel like she's just like, all right, you weren't listening, so I just kind of had to put you all on pause.
Well, yeah, because all those things you're describing, they are localized. They're in one area. So people, let's say in Canada, something happening on the other side of the world, they'd be like, well, yeah, we feel for you, but it's not the same as you actually going through it, right? With
Right.
this, it's spread everywhere. It affects everyone.
And that's kind of like what now people can feel what it's like to be an empath, because for an empath, something happening in Syria happens in our own hearts. So like when I was like following news of Syrian refugees being like turned away at our borders, like I felt like my own family was like hopping on a boat and coming over to, like escaping war and famine and fleeing there. Like it feels for an empath, it feels no different. What happens in another part of the world feels because the empath has access to that intimate connection to all others, all humans, all creation. So when something happens on one side of the planet, one side of the world, we feel it in our hearts just as if it's happening to our families or our neighbors. So now other people are aware of kind of what that feels like. And we even failed. Like we did fail when you said that if this were a movie, there's this test and we failed. Like we did, because we've seen this presented. Like the movie Bird Box, they showed what was going on the news. Like I remember Sandra Bullock in the beginning of the movie, she was painting and they showed like panic on the news happening in another country.
Mm-hmm.
But then where she lived, they were just going about business as usual. So like that's kind of what we all did. Like
Yeah.
this was taking place in China, and we're all like,
it's in China. It doesn't affect us.
business as usual. And then like a week later, like panic, toilet paper, like free for all. And had we all just like the 17-year-old who was tracking it, who like built a database, like he was tracking this beginning in December. had we all been aware since December and had a plan in place, we could have mitigated the panic so much. And I think if women ran the world,
And that's why it feels like a movie.
it's just a fucking movie.
You see my point? Because in the movies, watch any kind of apocalypse movie. Zombies coming about. Oh, it's just a case here. And then all of a sudden they're everywhere within like hours or within days. And these people are like, oh no, it's not happening here, it's not happening here. And then go to the grocery store and there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
This is like, I mean,
it was the same thing.
That's why it feels like a movie. And then the other part of it that makes me feel like it's a movie is seeing posts on social media, pictures of people lining up to buy ammunition. Am I missing something? Like, are there zombies?
Are we going full on martial law now? What's happening?
Paper. They're buying ammunition so they can go and take your toilet paper.
Yo. All right, well, time to learn martial arts.
That right there is what adds that cinematic feel to it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it feels like a dream, like my childhood dreams, like the dreams I would have where I always knew martial arts because I could fight people who had guns. And
me too. I was just such a ninja.
Yes, like see, like why have so many of us had these dreams where we've been ninjas?
I used to fly on my white unicorn. I kid you not. She used to come to my window.
It's time to start integrating all those dreams. Like we were ninjas for reasons.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. We need some online martial arts classes.
Energy ninjas. I like that one.
We are energy ninjas.
Oh, I like that one.
I was like, sometimes when I'm doing my like move and groove yoga, I don't actually like, I'll do yoga positions kind of, but I'm mostly like moving. A lot of what I'm doing is like visualizing energy and particles and like particle waves, and I'm like playing with them, and like I'll do a water activation where I'm holding my water and like talking to the moon and like feeling the moon energy, and I can like see it like when I open my eyes, I can't, but when I close my eyes, I can just like see the energy that I'm like bringing up from the roof and like through the crown and then back down. And that's why I like using movement so much, because it helps to like visualize the energy flow.
Yeah, well, that movement is what gets the energy moving, right? Otherwise, the energy can just stand still, but movement is what gets it moving, and energy is all there is. Right?
It's all there is. Like, I think we can all agree now. I think we've reached the point in human evolution where enough of us agree that everything is energy, that we can start applying these concepts to our everyday lives and our thoughts and feelings.
Especially to our thoughts nowadays, right? The thought that came to mind right now is like, I'm sick, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling crappy. Most people, when they're feeling like this, they would want to go lay down and cry and feel sick and be with themselves and their sickness, claim it as theirs. But I choose to go and hang out with you, because I know my energy is gonna rise up and I'm gonna feel better. And that is how I'm gonna heal, by bringing the good positive energy, by elevating my own energy, and not by sitting there with my own sickness and sorrow and claiming it as mine. I don't want it. It's not mine. Take it back. Right? But that's the power of energy.
Yeah. It's like, I've even noticed it with posture. Like, if like my part of my gremlin's biggest fear lifelong was taking up space. And like even like sharing space with people, like right now being in the house with my parents, like I've noticed like lifelong I would go if someone else was in the kitchen and I needed to like use the sink and someone else was like around, I'd kind of like hide myself and try to like, you know, sneak by. And I like caught myself doing that the other day, and then I was like and then like so like my dad was in the kitchen, and like it was like I was invisible because I was like energetically I was. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, why not just stand up straight and be like, I am here. I can take up space too. And I did. And then he like noticed my presence and like adjusted so we could both comfortably like do what we needed to do in the kitchen. And I was like, that's energy. Like our body, like how we present ourselves, like shoulders back instead of being like hunched over and like, oh, I don't deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm.
No, like we all deserve to be here. We all deserve to take up space. Otherwise, why would we exist at all?
Yeah. I noticed that I do that a lot. Like I'll kind of hunch forward like this, right? Where I should be just like this, right? But then my grande tetes get in the way, and that's when like I'm hiding them. Oh man. So as I'm looking at the time, and I know we're going to be hopping on another call really soon. I was thinking, did you want to come up with a title for this? Because we're going to be sharing it in our groups, and if we come up with a nice title, and then we can add to it as well as we kind of like.
Maybe it could be like intro to coaching or some kind of, because like we talked a lot about what we learned as coaches.
Mm-hmm. Inner work, intro to inner work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you got energy ninjas.
Energy ninjas, yeah. You kind of froze for a little bit. All I heard was like energy ninjas.
Okay, it could be like energy ninjas 101.
I like that one. Ninjas 1.
And then and this could just be like an intro of what we do, like the kind of things we talk about, and then we could have a bit more.
Yeah, because I mean, down the topic itself can be like energy ninja 101, but what we talked about underneath, so people can.
Yeah, we can and we can like put like I can go through it and rewatch it and then put like list markers. Like actually, never mind, not in this one because it like flowed so like it was a fluid one. But yeah, in the like I was thinking of one of the online courses I take. She puts like time markers,
Timestamps, yeah.
Like what she talks about at certain times. But I feel like this one was like a bit more. I don't know if they were like distinct topics.
Yeah, it's like a mix of everything, kind of like introduction to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Intro to Zombieland.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Are we gonna make it? Are we not? Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, we know.
Yeah, we know. We've seen it. We've seen the timeline. Like there are various. That's the thing about like expanding your consciousness to that like holistic integral vision. You can see all the timelines. It's like it's like being Doctor Strange. Like I feel like Doctor Strange all the time when he, like, I don't know if you saw it. I think it was Infinity War, like one of the Marvel movies where he goes like and like he's like in meditation, kind of like floating. But you can see like he goes to all the different timelines to try to figure out which one, if there's one where the Avengers like win and like beat the bad guy. And so that's how I feel like when like shit like this is going on, I'll like travel through the different timelines. Like, for example, what if like the question you posed, like, what if everybody was in a state of panic? Like, I can like travel to that time, like, oh, everything's on fire.
Yeah.
And like, but I can also go to the timeline where it is the Great Awakening and the Golden Age, and all the creatives are thriving and the healers are thriving, and there's a return to earth and a return to indigenous wisdom, and we are decolonizing the Western civilization. And I'm like, that timeline fills me with so much inspiration and hope. And it just seems like, for me, it just feels like the most truth. Like when I visit that timeline, I'm like, this is it. This is the one. This feels like truth. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't. And like, no big deal. But it's the one that we all, like all of us light workers who like see it, we're all in that, we're all building it. So of course it's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
We're going together. There's so many of us now.
Yeah.
So many of us saying the same thing.
Exactly. It feels like it's like a test, right? And when you go into a test, before you go into a test, a lot of people feel very scared and very anxious and very fearful of what's about to happen because they fear that they're going to fail the test. But on the other side, they know that they're going to feel good that they're finished. And then there's other people that will go on a test and they're confident and they know it's gonna go well. Everything is gonna be just fine the way it's meant to be. Which one would you rather be? That's the question that comes down to everyone. Which one would you rather be? Would you rather think of the worst or think of the best and focus on how you're going to feel after, or how you might be feeling right now?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's like, once you get to the end of it, it's like, oh, all that worrying and panic, like now that it's over, like, how did that serve you?
I can tell how, because according to Bruce, stress and worry takes 16 years of your life.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure it was in the Law of Being. He mentioned that it takes 16 years of a person's life.
I don't doubt it. I mean, that's a lot of inflammation. Like, inflammation is the ultimate illness, and cortisol and stress-induced cortisol. So I don't doubt that.
Yeah. And little by little, we all lose years when we stress out, when we worry, when we panic, when we think of the worst, when all that catabolic energy enters the body and starts to eat away at our cells.
And it's like, we're all still here, we're all still breathing. So like, when has worst case scenario and like the imagined like fear, like when has it ever actually happened? You know, and like, when have we ever not needed, like, if we're all here, fuck, if we have internet and Facebook and we're able to do shit like this, then we're all right. Like, when has worst case scenario happened for us? You know, like, we're here, like, we haven't like had ICE officers come in and strip us from our families. Like, we haven't had bombs dropped on us where we live, thank goodness. And like, we still have water coming out of our faucets, so we're like, we've got heat our homes, so we're all right. You know, we're all right. Like, I think now's the time for all of humanity who has our basic necessities met is gonna feel some gratitude for what they've got, and that's going to start helping them root into their root chakras, like ground into their root chakras. And then from there, like, one of my favorite root chakra affirmations is, I'm creating a healthy foundation on which creativity can flourish. And that's why I have so much faith that there's going to be this golden age, this like current renaissance, the like post coronavirus renaissance.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's so obvious to me that this is what's happening.
Every time if we look, I'm not a big fan of history, but if we do look back in history, and every time that there was something huge that happened and took over, something beautiful came out of it.
Yes, every time.
From the ashes. So I can't wait for this phoenix to rise, because back then they did not have what we have now. all of this access to all of this stuff. We are learning that we can work from home.
Yes, like we can be ourselves, like we can just be us, receive like we could support each other. Like we don't need to support corporations. We can support each, like we don't need to buy everything from like Amazon. And like I saw a post that was like companies not affected or like not taking a hit, like Amazon and Facebook. I forget what else, but which is why I was thinking like maybe we could move all of this off of Facebook and onto, or like not all of it, it's still a great tool, but onto Zoom and Twitch. Like Zoom, we connect way more intimately on Zoom than we do on Facebook. And that's what we need right now. We need intimate connection, like focused, like focused real connection. Because on Facebook, people are still hiding behind the keyboard and just like lashing out and reacting. They're not going to do that like in a one-on-one conversation or like group conversation like we're going to have in 20 minutes. But
Yeah.
like where they're not going to take that like heat and anger to a Zoom where they're actually like looking at another human being. And with Twitch, I don't know enough about Twitch yet, but basically it sounds to me like you could just get paid for just being you. Like I was thinking I'll make an account and put up like my like morning water activations. Like when I'll just like, do that live and just say it out loud instead of in my own head. And just like, we could all do that. Like, cause we've all got like, this is like what I think the purpose of technology right now is to show us that it's time for all of us to let our souls express like what our souls came here to do. Cause no soul was like signing its contract to come into a human body being like, I'm going to be an analyst at a Fortune 500 company. And like,
that's fun.
Like what soul, like, because it makes no sense because it's new. Like Fortune 500 companies are relatively new if we're speaking in terms of humanity. Like stock market's relatively new. Like all these like jobs that people think like really since the industrial age that people think are so important, like that's all pretty new. So no soul even knows that like when we're in the spirit realm deciding to come to earth and occupy a body, we're not like, that's gonna be the job for me. I'm gonna go sit at a computer from 9 to 5 and go home and drink beer and watch sports and go to bed and do it all over again the next day. Like no soul chose to occupy a human body for that life.
Well, some people love doing that though, right? Some people love to go and crunch numbers all day. And I'm glad that there's people like that, so I don't have to do it.
Right.
Right? So there are people that choose their careers by following their heart. But more people choose their careers by following the money or thinking that there's money in there and not realizing that it's not for them.
It's safer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of careers that are based, I think most career decisions are based in fear, like fear of disapproval from parents and family, fear of lack, fear of scarcity, fear of not having benefits. I think fear of not having benefits plays a huge role in indentured servitude that our system like thrives on.
Yeah. What would you say about our career choice of people? Well, in other words, how did your family respond when you told them you were going to be a core energy life coach?
How are you going to make money doing that? First question. First question, everybody. How are you going to make money doing that? The experience that I had when I finally like lost it was so exhausted and like up and left my parents' house and just like went and lived like out of my backpack. And it was because I was so exhausted by that. Like I just did not feel supported for my choice. And one person, it was my dad's college friends, like he was over at our house and I was like working on I was in the process of working on my automated program, and he was like poking me, and he's like, well, how are you going to make money doing that? And I was like super passionate explaining, and then throughout the conversation my passion would dwindle, and he was like, well, you can't, he's like, it's dangerous to tell people to follow their dream. Like, that's how people end up destitute and homeless. And I was like, well, that's not what I'm doing. Like, that's not what coaching is, yada, yada. And I was like, I can give you an example. Like, try it. And he was like, no. And his like scoff, like after he scoffed, I was just like completely deflated, took all my books, like brought them into my bedroom. And then the next day I just woke up hyperventilating. I woke up to a panic attack, just hyperventilating. And I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, I have to go find somewhere safe to live, where it's safe to practice my passion without people constantly poking me and being like, that's never gonna work. Like, how are you gonna do that? Because at the time I didn't have the tools to separate my own shit from their shit and what they're projecting. Because like deep down, especially if it's coming from people who are, you know, young in the 60s, young during like the first movement, like the first consciousness movement, like the first yoga movement. Like what they're rejecting, I didn't have the tools to see that what they're rejecting was not me. It was something within them that they rejected a long time ago, so that they could convince themselves to get a normal job and like do the status quo shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like my checking out of the status quo and being like, it's not for me, threatened them. It threatened their, like, the part of themselves that was fearful of being who they were, like being that like spirited hippie from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I didn't have the tools to separate the two and be like, it's not me that he's like, his problem's not with me, because then it was just like poking me, and I was like, that is it. It is not safe for me to do this work here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate you had to go through something like that where you weren't supported with
Yeah.
your dream, right? And as coaches, we do just that. We support people and their dreams because we know that that is the whole entire purpose of us being here, following our dreams and not dying with them, right? And it takes a lot, and I could see that it took a lot out of you to stick to your dream, to stick to your guns and say, F you people, I am gonna get out of here because you don't believe in me. I believe in myself, even though it's difficult, but you did it anyways. And look at you now.
I mean, the past week has been the busiest I've ever been. Like, I've been on the phone from morning to night, and I'm like, everybody loves the metaphysicist now, huh?
Now you believe me. Now you're listening to me.
Crisis, yeah. You're at me.
All the time. Only took you guys how long?
Like, everyone wants to meditate now, huh? Like, come on in, come on in.
Yeah, let's do it now. Now we got the time.
Nothing but love, nothing but love. Like, I've been waiting for you. Glad you can join.
That's right. This was an awesome session. I love it. I hope everyone that watches it from beginning to the end loved it as much as we did.
But intention was a success. I had so much fun. Hey, Mila.
Hi.
No, don't take my mouse.
Bye.
Bye.
She stole my mouse.
For your computer?
Yeah. I have to use my finger now to roll it around. I don't like it. Oh, what can you do?
Hey, she knows her worth. She's gonna take what she wants. I like it.
Yeah, and I let her. Okay, go ahead, take it. Take everything. That's what we're here for, right? To give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
give them all the tools. Like, I honestly feel like we're vessels for the next generation.
Yeah, we're paving the path.
We so whatever we can do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go make another one of these.
I probably will too.
I'm gonna finish this one and make another one. Since in 12
Get, like, mainline cacao into my veins.
yeah, we're gonna be being cacao soon.
Oh my god. Well, magnesium is good for us. So
Yeah, I don't know about you, but this might be a little too much information. But I always look in the toilet after I'm done to see what's there.
okay, my mom and I were once reading about, like, I forgot why we're on this topic, but we were reading about like quinoa and if it's good for your digestive system and stuff. And we went to a website, and the person writing was like, if you look back at your stool, like, good for you, like, good job, you're like being aware of your health. And I was like, this person's got to be a coach to write, like, if this is what you're doing, good job, like, celebrating. And then I looked into it, I was like, she's a coach.
Yeah.
It is like, yeah, like, you gotta look back, check out, there's like a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
Soon enough, there's gonna be they have invented smart toilets that use quantum computing to figure out, like, what you've got going on. Just like they can tell by your shit if, like, what health issues you're dealing with. So
that's some good toilet. It will take away all the education that people might want to do based on their feces and find out what is going on.
Our toilets are going to be the new doctors. Have a shit, get your symptoms, and
well, that's exactly, like, that's how we can find out a lot of things that might be going on, because I also she's like with her belly up, the dog.
Mom, when you're done doing your video thing with Rachel, I think that's her name.
Yes.
Yes.
You got it.
Can I please play Roblox?
No, because I'm going to be going on another call in 9 minutes now.
Do you use my laptop?
No, thank you.
Please,
okay,
Mom,
let us finish
You have
quickly.
your mouse back.
Thank you.
No.
Mila, can I please finish quickly?
Well, then can you use your laptop
So
after?
I can make another one of these.
Well, then can you use your laptop after?
Asked and answered.
I can't use mine to play Roblox.
A little tip right there.
I can't use mine to play Roblox.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up, and I'd love to, of course, as always, love to hear anyone's feedback after they're done watching it, because I'm sure there's a lot of topics that we kind of like spread it all over the place, and anything that piques anybody's interest to talk about or to find out more about, we can do another video on this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All we got is time. Like, at this point, all we got is time. We can make all the videos.
Yeah, and people should have all the time to watch them, especially if it's helping them. Right?
Yeah. Most importantly.
Exactly.
All right. On to the next one.
That's right. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you in about 8 minutes. Bye.